Hi, my name is Ewa Chronowska. I'm representing here Symfonie Capital and SymCredit company. With Symfonie Capital and SymCredit, we are facing a lot of difficulties coming to Polish market. Symfonie Capital is a wealth management and asset management in general company. We have angel fund, and we are regulated under SEC as investment advisor. And of course, coming to Poland, we have to be regulated in Europe. That's why we decided to try to regulate in FCA in UK, and then come to Poland, having this regulation. When it comes to SymCredit, this is a company that will operate as a peer-to-peer lending platform for SMEs loans, and Capital Ventures is a consulting company, and we are operating in capital transaction and general consulting. So my guests are Maciej Gawronski from Bird & Bird company, Piotr Strzelecki, the chief of Finansowo.pl, consumer loan peer-to-peer platform, and our previous guest, Krzysztof Klimczak.
So we have because we have collected several questions on the topics that we would like to touch today. So current PSD and forthcoming PSD2, and what will be the impact on fintech companies, and what we can observe that the PSD2 is the word which is actually can be here everywhere on the corridors of the different banks and the financial institutions, especially in UK. And all the people are looking forward to understand how this will impact their business and how it can potentially change some rules in the game. The second is the costs that are incurred by payments institution for KNF, Komisja Nadzoru Finansowego, the Polish Financial Authority, where we can see there's relatively high cost when compared to other countries. The point number 3 that we would like to touch today is a legal framework for family office structures and all those consequences, including a TFA, local law asset management. So different regulations coming from the European structures, coming from the Polish government, and how it will impact actually this framework. The point number 4, I think it's really important in terms of peer-to-peer and crowdfunding. So what are the regulations and how those can also impact what we have now on the market and how the market will look like in the near future, and social trading structures. So kind of the different approach for the asset management, like well-known El Toro social trading platforms, and if the current law is really leveraging those new ways of trading, or it's rather the boundary that will have to be somehow overcome. So those are the 5 topics, and that we would like to be focused now today.
Okay, before going into the questions, I would like to say a few words about who we are. So Bird & Bird is a law firm, international law firm, originating from London, 1846. Currently, circa 27 offices in 17 countries. And we do technology and we do finance, and therefore, plus or minus, we fit into the scope of this meeting. And I'm not the only one Bird & Bird here, because we've got the other one. There's Ewa Chronowska, radca prawny, attorney at law, who has a bit more regulatory, financial regulatory angle than me, because I do technology for finance and have a lot in common with implementing technology in banks and with offering different types of solutions, or trying to fit them into the current regulatory structure. For instance, how to use cloud computing in the financial sector, which is a specific thing we are cracking down from time to time, and now even for clients. Then, when we look at the first question, current PSD and forthcoming PSD and its impact on fintech companies, I don't have much to say, in that sense that that first of all, I was analyzing PSD2, I think in 2009. So now we have 2015, and the PSD2 is still upcoming. So from that perspective, one thing is sure, that it's aiming at facilitating, lowering entry barriers. How it will be really done, no idea. Kasia, if you want to add something on top of it, or maybe the rest of the audience knows more. Paweł, what's your current status of knowledge about PSD2?
Hello, thank you. Paweł Widawski from Polish Bank Association and from Warsaw University Faculty of Law as well. So PhD for now is on a trialogue phase, so Commission, Council and European Parliament are negotiating about major issues, and I guess, and I think the crucial point is access to the payment account, to the bank account. So third-party payment providers will have access in order to have access to data and have access to or be able to initiate payment transactions. And from my point of view, it will change the retail banking world. So it will have great importance for FinTech, for banks and non-banking entities. Thank you.
Okay. So good afternoon. My name is Piotr Strzelecki and I represent Finansowo.pl. This is a small company that is providing customers with peer-to-peer lending. And answering question number one, I would like to tell you our story in the topic. So unlike our competitors, we are one of the few platforms that do not transfer money from the borrower to the lender and vice versa. What we do now is that we show each of the side verified bank account number, and when the lender wants to borrow money to the borrower, they go into their own internet banking platform, sends the money, logs into our platform, and then mark the payment as done. When the borrower needs to repay the loan, he enters his own internet banking platform, sends the money to the verified bank account of the lender, and then the lender has to one more time log into our platform and mark loan as repaid. So what we did, we asked one of the banks to give us the offer for mass payment solutions. Then the offer was very good, so we wanted to implement that solution, but the bank asked us to give to show our license from KNF that we have a payment institution license. So we asked the Ministry of Finance, do we need this license? Because in our opinion, we don't facilitate. We touch the money, yeah, but it's not our core business. And the second of our opinion is that it's not a typical money transfer, yeah, because you cannot set the amount, you cannot set the date, you cannot set the receiver. And the Ministry of Finance told us that in their view, we don't need to have the payment institution license. But the bank still wanted us to show what kind of things about it. So we attached the opinion from the Ministry of Finance, and we thought that it would be a very easy and straightforward way. But the KNF told us that in their view, we need to have a license, but we need to have a payment institution license, not the Biuro Usług Płatniczych. What's the small payment institution? All right. So we one more time asked Ministry of Finance what do they think about KNF opinion. And surprisingly, Ministry of Finance told us that they still think that we don't need a license at all. So having this, we contacted KNF one more time. We talked with them and we told them that we can cooperate to find a solution, because it's strange that two bodies have different opinion on the topic. But KNF didn't want to talk with us, and they told that still, if we touch the money, we need the payment institution license. So we almost lost 1 year. And in the following month, and what is interesting that bank, having Ministry of Finance opinions and KNF opinions, still thinks that we need either payment institution license or small institution license. I don't know why small institution license, but we have a meeting with them following months, so we will see whether we can find a solution or no. But to add one more thing to that point, we contacted other banks, and other banks do not ask us that question. So my mistake was that we contacted bank's headquarters, but we did it on purpose because that's why we have very, very good rates for Elixir transfer and Blue Cash and Express Elixir transfer. So this was mBank. mBank, yeah. But we have offers from 6 other banks. And what do you mean touch the money? So, you know, KNF has the opinion that if you are an intermediary and you touch the money, so you transfer the money, but you are not the owner, yeah, because you don't sell things. You just take money from... Yeah, because we want to give our clients individual virtual account numbers. Then the lender will send us money, and then if he decides to give the loan to a borrower, then we send the money to the borrower directly, yeah, on behalf. So now that in the PSD there is, and KNF told us that there are 2 exemptions, yeah. The first one is that if we do it on behalf of the one side, we don't need the license, but in KNF opinion, we do escrow things. And not we are not an intermediary, and we don't act on behalf of each of the side. But what is said for us is that PSD2, and this is also the view of KNF, if you do it on behalf of 2 sides, it's not in the exemption anymore. Yeah. So, to the best of my knowledge, and I read the draft of PSD2 as of December. It's written that no longer you could use this exemption not to be payment institution, payment provider. Yeah, so this is question number 2. In terms of question number 2, we've calculated the costs, and I think that the costs are not the problem here, because in our case it would be roughly €2,500 per month per year, but still. When we calculated and compared it to other countries, Poland is in the middle in our case. So there are countries where we would pay no fees, and also there are countries where we would pay €4,000. So for me the problem is not about cost, but about the whole procedure. It takes a while to file and for the license, and then you have to comply with it. So it's also adding additional person to comply with this, because we don't have time to do this. So in my view, the problem is with the procedures. The problem is also with the time, and I don't understand kind of view, because it would mean that half of the Polish e-commerce platforms would have payment institution license, because when we think about fashion platforms or tourist agencies or accountant services, they also touch the money, yeah? And they transfer it from one side to the other. So we will see how it will end. For sure, we have to find a solution.
Guys, let's take a question here, and then let's pass that microphone on, because we've got about 10 minutes there.
Okay, my name is Krzysztof Korusz. I'm an attorney at law with expertise exactly in the PSD, and I think that perhaps some things might benefit from clarification here, because what you report is quite a bad case in Poland, so you had really bad luck. It's not the way, you know my opinion, we discussed it a lot. I think you did it not the best way that was possible, actually.
Banks forced us to give the kind of opinion, yeah.
Absolutely, because this exemption still works at this moment, and before 2017 it still works. So if you are operating a platform, you are connecting two sides of users. On one side borrowers, on the other side lenders, or invoice issuers like Aztec Money or whatever. It really works at this moment, and whatever is on the table, that it's not that we did not intend that it applies when you represent both sides. It will be applicable since 2017, once PSD2 is in force. At this moment, it still works. A number of Polish platforms, and not only Polish actually, operate without license, and it is fully all right. KNF does not object it, without having a license, just because they facilitate, they participate in entering into contract between both parties. And as long as you can demonstrate that you are facilitating entry into contract, which is the case on your platform, actually, then it's all right. You actually had the bad luck of touching a very early developments in Ministry of Finance when someone else asked about the escrow platform where Ministry of Finance had a dispute with the KNF and you were the side effect of this. So in general, you had bad luck. Actually, this exemption for e-commerce platforms do work, but now you're right, it started in 2009, but it works only up to 2017 because according to the new view of the European Commission, the e-commerce platform will benefit from exemption only where you represent one side of the platform. You can no longer represent both sides of the platform and be still exempt from the payment institution exemption. Okay, that was my comment to sort it out.
Two comments. What I'm saying is that we will do it either with mBank or with the other bank. The question is whether we will be able to meet the mBank's lawyer and explain the situation. So I'm not sure whether it will be feasible, but still we will transfer the money if not with mBank, so we will choose other bank.
Try with another bank.
But it's only 3 weeks. In 3 weeks' time, I will know whether mBank or not. But if you think that 50% e-commerce clients have mBank accounts, so it means that for them it's online transfer and you don't have key costs. So that's why I would like to have mBank on. All right, and I've got one question. What will happen with platforms in 2017? All right, sorry.
We also had some adventures. Banks rejected us when we, put in the form that we will run a peer-to-peer platform in Poland. But then we switched to another bank and just said that our main activity is something different. When it comes to PSD, we've decided to go with FCA again to regulate ourselves, and maybe because we will have also other products connected with currencies. So this is the way we are going. Fortunately, there are discussions about PSD for crowdfunding market, so there is a hope that there will be some solutions for us in the future.
So I will just one comment from my side, as I spent several years at the bank, so it's not strange at all that you receive such a request from some of the banks. My advice for startup is simply when you need a bank to work with for your business, then it means that you need to respect this what bank requests from you. But I do agree with this case. Simply try to find another bank. First of all, read the legal regulations, have your opinion. Then, if you find it by your mind that it's not against them, simply ask one of the legal firms in Poland that are quite good here and can give you a well-prepared analysis of the situation. And then simply don't be afraid that the analysis is in the other way that the banks or one of the ministry in Poland is saying. If you are not breaking the rules, and don't be surprised that two ministries are giving two different results of your question, and especially the KNF will give another one. This is not surprising me at all. So don't be afraid that if you are doing something and have the professional legal firm analysis on you, I would suggest simply to go. Of course, this is different when you need a bank to do your business, but what I would suggest is that what I see currently is I see a great opportunity for startups working with the banks, but offering to banks innovative solutions. Banks are not able to be innovative. I will not be able to be innovative quick enough for the coming years. And from my ZenCard experience, banks are more than open to listen and to work even with startups when they find a business case for being different or for being able to operate a new product.
Just to add on top of it, actually discussing with banks may be difficult for startup or for anybody who wants to talk regulations and compliance, because somewhere there in a bank, there is obviously a legal department. And the legal department may be more or less conservative or innovative. So tendency is rather to be on a secure side, which doesn't mean much of innovation. And then there is a question how to overcome it. I even remember a situation in which we were negotiating, in a sense, within our own firm, when one of my colleagues was actually closer to a general counsel of a bank, and I was closer to a financial institution who wanted to implement a reasonably innovative, or well, it wasn't even that innovative, but kind of outsourcing and sub-outsourcing process. It was a relation between a bank and a card payment institution. And it required a lot of, field work in a sense of, convincing people, in the sense of knowing these people and being nice and getting and reminding them. A lot of very, very simple. It's not a legal work in the sense we are not discussing very much in a very big strong words what are our opinions. It was more like a bit of politics and project management, and it required, for instance, for the bank, and we are talking the same bank. Actually, they had 7 departments. They required sign-off from 7 people. So what I could advise is actually the same. Go to those lawyers who can actually have the phone answered at the other side.
Okay, so on the PSD, does anyone want to take any further, or do you want to move on to the next question? Because the PSD seems to be quite an issue.
I've got the question: what will happen after 2017? Yeah, because there are still many companies not in field of crowdfunding that act on behalf of both sides, and each of the platform would have to have a license. Or
I don't know that. Does somebody know that? Do you know that? Do you want to? Can we give you the mic?
I think as somebody mentioned that if the platform would be able to represent only one party of transaction, so something must happen within the law that the second party must be free and would have to be able to freely access the platform without signing tons of papers, etc., etc. So because otherwise this would, stop us, hamper the entire process on the platforms.
It's a tricky thing to say to what extent one or the other party is free to choose, for instance, that service or that platform. Especially that these platforms sometimes are created exactly to avoid certain regulations. For instance, in 2006, I was involved in generating foreign exchange trading platform, which was a separate business to bank's business, separate company, created especially in order to avoid bank outsourcing issues. And it's operational and it's working, excellent. The problem is obviously that if at certain point in time this representation of 2 sides of the same contract becomes also regulated, then obviously it will require some kind of a new approach. But that new approach can be also created because then formally that particular platform can represent only a client, not a financial institution or some other institutional organization. And in theory, we could say that the financial institution is free to enter with a client on that platform represented, or a client represented by the platform, enter into a contract. And then there's a question how would it be treated by the Polish FSA, KNF, whether it would fall or not fall under the PhD tool. We're talking about future.
We just take a last point and then let's just take one last comment on the PSD and I'll wrap the PSD up.
Actually, Just to supplement the crowdfunding issue and interchange with the PSD. At this moment, it's not yet decided about the crowdfunding. What happens because last week the European Commission has published a report on what's the potential future approach to crowdfunding. There will be definitely two layers. First one will be the payment one, which is today already more or less decided. It is subject to PSD2, and either you fall under the exemption because you can demonstrate in your platform that you are only on the one side, that you are representing one side, for example, the users, not the people looking for monies, or the other way around. And the other thing is, and this is completely different, whether it will be considered an investment activity, investment intermediary, and this is yet to be decided. This is completely at this moment not clear. 3 months ago, we had there was an open chat with the European Commission where the question have been asked what we should expect if anyone who intends to operate crowdfunding platform, whether it will remain only on the payment regulation level, so quite easy, or we go as deep as the investment regulations, which is completely different world. So at this moment, not yet decided. Only the payment level, the intermediating in funds transfer, which means either under the PSD or under the exemption.
Okay, so clearly we could be here for the whole night talking about the PSD. So what I suggest is, why don't we just take a look at number 2? I don't know what the costs are here for the KNF. Is it expensive compared to the FC? I don't know. Who's done this? Is it expensive?
It is because it is a tax involved, actually. Transaction tax instead of the supervisory fee, and this is the issue. It's not only high, it's per transaction. But does anyone need this explanation? Is anyone interested?
Well, I'm interested. I'm interested in whether it's more expensive here to get supervised, to get authorized than it is in the UK.
Yes, absolutely, it is. It is. It's more expensive here, and the approach in the FCA, you pay for in the UK, you pay for the supervision itself as a certain bunch of cost, lump sum. There are bands, different bands. You are small, you pay the low band, and so on. In this country, you pay per transaction. You pay a percentage of the face value of the transaction.
Is that true?
Yes. I can tell you it's true. Okay. It differs. It differs from 25 zlotys per each million. Okay, if you transfer £1 million, you pay £25 of the supervisory fees. It is in the acquiring space. If it is, for example, in the bill payment space, you pay £750 for each £1 million transacted. So not your fee, but the face value of the transaction. So it's really, really a lot. And it's killing for this.
Yes, there is a special formula for that covered by the resolution of the Minister of Finance. And that's true, it's quite high for now. But I've seen that there is an assumption for a new regulation by the Minister of Finance for the small payment institutions, so biura. The plan is that the small payment institutions will cover costs for the supervisory by a fixed fee. I don't know how high it will be, but the calculation will be different.
So that you think there's going to be a transition to a fixed fee, a supervisory fee?
Yes, but not all payment institutions, only the small one.
Well, this is only for the small ones, for the bill payments, so it doesn't matter. There are 1,700 of the small payment institutions, but they do not matter at all. The other 30 payment institutions, the leading one, they pay you, the dot pay, cash bill, and so on, they all pay those high fees, and they have no chance to pay those small fixed fee fees, so it's really a disaster here.
Does anyone want to comment on that? That sounds pretty terrible to me.
Well, it's a fiscal approach. The country wants to. Well, actually, the Minister of Finance wants to have some share in everything, and it's, in a sense, understandable, not maybe beneficial to the economy. However, actually, I don't know what I wanted to ask. I've lost my. I'm a bit sorry, guys. I'm a bit sorry for my current state because I slept only on 1 hour. I was driving from Romania where I was heliboarding. I'm sorry to say that I've spent a wonderful weekend, and this is why we have also Kasia here to support me in this.
At the next meeting, you can arrive by helicopter and jump onto the top of the building, and then come down the stairs. Okay. So
there's one more thing, in terms of catastrophic, thinking. I believe that these large payment institutions are doing quite well. Obviously, they could pay less, but so far they are quite successful.
Okay. Can we move on? I'm not sure about number 3. Do you want to jump to the current state on crowdfunding? Because I know this is a point Ewa might want to address. Yes. Do you want to grab that mic? What's the current state? What needs to be done? I know, Ewa, you're setting up this new. Do you want to tell us about the?
Yeah, I can jump actually from 3rd to 4th questions. I don't understand the point, maybe the whole point in 3, but coming to Poland, we were searching for a solution for our investors to gather investors on the platform, for example, and invest on their behalf. On equity platforms-based platforms. But in Poland, we don't have a good solution for that because regulator doesn't leave a big space for it. So we have 3 options to manage, for example, investors' money. We can go with a brokerage house. TEFI is like mutual funds, or we can set up some closed funds, which is expensive and has a lot of boundaries. So when it comes to crowdfunding, but you mean equity-based crowdfunding, yes? And its development in Poland, and what needs to be done, yes? This is the question? Okay. For sure, when it comes to vehicle...
Let me ask you a specific question.
Yeah.
Does the, and this might be for you, I know there's several experts here, does the current regulations cover crowd investing?
No.
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 Okay. Right, that's easy. Very good. So it doesn't. So I know in the UK, when this was done, when Cedars initially did this, it also wasn't covered. So they set up some kind of, now I may have probably got this wrong, but it's some kind of fund or some kind of legal structure that even though there was no specific way of getting it authorized, they had it authorized under some kind of structure, which was a bit like an OICO. I probably got this wrong. But it was some kind of fund. And you bought units in that fund and they held the shares and whatever, and I don't get all that stuff. But I know they got it working, and Jeff Lynne got it working, and they started very early because of that. So can you not do something like that?
No. No, because you have in UK a solution that you can actually manage investors' accounts. Yeah. Like Cedars, yeah,
Cedars
and you have you need to be regulated by FCA. Yes. Cedars fought for it quite a long time.
Right,
yeah.
But it's not specifically crowd investing. They've got a fund or however it works, and you buy units in that, and they buy the shares, and they manage that. Is that right? I don't understand the legals.
They had 2 options that for more wealthier clients, they can manage their wealth.
And you're saying that can't be done here?
Not going with the whole regulation in Poland, which is quite difficult.
So what's the solution for your platform? What's the solution?
Our solution is we have permission from SEC, so we can act, in US. Yes, but we can go with it to FCA. So we will have a permission from FCA, and then having it, we can come to Poland. Yes.
So you're going to get FCA regulated, and you're going to
get passport, to act in Poland.
And then you're going to passport back into Poland.
Yes.
You're on the passport basis, and that's how. So that's the solution.
Yeah, this is the only solution actually.
And then you operate in Poland. So you're a Polish company, you get FCA regulated, you passport back.
Yes, but we have a lot of companies, so our main vehicle is in UK. So.
Okay, fine. So, okay.
For obvious reason. So when it comes to equity crowdfunding, also it's difficult to Poland, to have a vehicle as entrepreneur to raise capital.
Okay, no, but that's interesting. It's interesting that there's a kind of, not a loophole, there's a method there, isn't there?
Yeah, we have to establish a zoo company, which is like limited.
A zoo company?
Zoo company.
What's a zoo company?
It's like it's the LTD in UK.
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
Otherwise, you have to deal with private placement or public offer.
So you set up a UK LTD and then you passport in.
No, we can establish it in Poland.
Okay, and then you get FCA regulated, and you come back.
Whatever,
but there's a mechanism there.
But I'm talking about entrepreneurs that want to raise capital on equity platform that they need as like limited company, because there is no other option.
One comment, and actually this is more about the passporting for all the startups, because what we see, we deal with a lot of startups here in Poland and abroad. What we see is that very often this approach is at least taken into account when considering the startup. Okay, I don't like Poland or I don't like Czech, so I go to UK, I go to Luxembourg or whatever, I do the license there and come back to Poland. And that's not perfectly and not always true, because the regulators do not allow, in general in the financial world, that you go somewhere, do only the license there and go to do the business completely elsewhere. So
but in our case, we are international team. So
yeah, but I want to underline that you see the difference. That you cannot assume that if you don't like the Polish environment, you do the jurisdiction arbitration, arbitrage actually, you go to different jurisdiction, make the license here and come back to Poland. Yes, if you have the operations in your licensed country. If you are in internet, you are only internet based, that's fine. Internet has no location.
Yes, and we have also investors from a lot of countries, so
but
in our case it's a good solution.
Okay, but it's not about investors. One message, if you want to do the license somewhere else than your major market, bear in mind that the regulator will ask you what are your operations there, unless you are in internet where there is no location. And we have done, for example, a license in Luxembourg, although we have completely no operations there, only by saying we are internet. And we will offer these services for internet Luxembourgian merchants either, and that's fine. So
we are internet also.
Okay, if you are internet, you're fine. If you are not internet, be careful. You need to have operations where you want to have the license.
I'm sorry, okay, let's take one last question. Can we get that mic to Peter?
Very quick one, I don't need a microphone. How is it determined whether you are internet or not internet? How does the regulator determine that?
Yes, I know it's difficult. Perhaps I went too far by saying this so simple. But if the
surely there's got to be a criterion that they use.
No, it is more a practical criteria. Actually, if you direct your marketing activities mainly via the online channels, I would suggest you are the internet mainly provider. It's all about how wide your activities, how wide you fish for the customers. If you have the physical.
So if you have a website in English, then you are internet because it's English. Everybody speaks English.
But usually, if you have the website only in English...
If you have a website in Polish, then it's dodgy.
But usually it wouldn't be enough to say that you... Because this is another question about passporting. Okay. If you are from UK and you have the website in Polish, does it mean that you started to provide services in Poland and you need to passport? Because normally you can have your internet website in the UK.
It actually means that if you have a web page in a local language and addressing local customers, then you are offering to specific jurisdiction, as we call it.
Okay, you go quite far. In our regulatory experience, I'd say something more is necessary, some active promotion, something more than only the web page in a certain language, but it's blurred, completely blurred. I cannot provide you a very rigid, restrictive criteria. But it's more or less in between.
If this is said that it's actually serving immigrants, then you...
That would be the case.
But if that would be a very practical test of who are you really targeting.
Okay, can I just, we need to wrap this panel session up now because of the time. Can I just, so let me just say one little thing about this from what I'm seeing, because I'm back in the UK and the FCA is fairly advanced on this kind of stuff now, after about 10 years. But what I'm seeing, and I'll take some comments on this, is the authorizations aren't really here to do the things the entrepreneurs want, so they're trying to find ways to get around it. And we were there in the UK about 5 years ago. So you mentioned Cedars, and Zopa did the same thing. So when Simon Dean John set up Zopa back in 2005, there was no authorization for peer-to-peer lending. And I don't understand the legals, but he did something. And it took him 6 months, and it made it work. And then Jeff Lynn did something again. And those guys, so what I'm hearing now is exactly what I've heard from those guys before, which is, and again, I don't understand legals, but they did something with whatever it was. I know you guys understand that, but they found a way around it. And that's where you guys seem to be right now. Now we have this changed. Now we have regulations for crowdfunding or crowd investing, all this kind of stuff. So what is the next, and you're obviously all very passionate about this, what is the next, what can we as a group do? What's the next logical step here? What can we do, if anything, or what would be the next discussion to have to take this on? What's the next practical step for us here? Because we've talked about it. What do you think we should do next?
First of all, so crowdfunding is not regulated, but the other question is whether it is possible or not possible to be operated in Poland. And second question, it's exactly if it can be done from or by based on passport. So coming back into Poland from London, from FCA, then we don't need to do anything. Obviously, there is this question that there should be operations somewhere. It shouldn't be local Polish, but it can be overcome. And this jurisdiction arbitrage, as my colleague mentioned, can really happen right now. It's not that bad as long as it's practical, basically, as long as it works. So right now, if you've got regulations in the UK, you can basically go there. It's easier, it's probably cheaper and less formalities, and then come back into Poland based on a passport.
Okay. So,
do we really need operations here in Poland? Do we really need operations here in Poland if as you said, if someone wants to act on the British passport here in Poland?
No, you don't need well, to get a primary license. You should.
I mean operations. I mean staff.
No. It's
nothing.
The problem is in getting a primary, a first authorization, a license.
Yes,
so
it's in the UK.
So if you get it there by proving that you're doing something there, then you can re-enter.
And how about cross-border activity? I mean, cross-border services?
Well, nothing. Well, no change. I mean, it's the same. It's the same structure. If it's cross-border, it means that it is two jurisdictions, two laws, and then it's actually the question whether you need a passport in a second jurisdiction or you don't need it, and it depends on how is your activity regulated here and there. If in the first jurisdiction you need something, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need it in the second jurisdiction. But right now it would be perceived as such, because if you get under the financial supervision in any country in Europe, you will be obviously suspected, first usual suspect in the second country if you want to expand your activity. So from that perspective, either you go completely avoid financial regulation, either if you get a proper compliance in one country, you need to member state.
Okay, last comment.
Yeah, my last comment will be just from the practical point of view. So if you are speaking about the passporting and operations, please keep in mind one thing, that if you have a business, if you have a startup that you think could be scaled, and you will be looking soon for the money from outside Polish investors, like VCs. Currently in Europe, there are just three cities very important. The first one is London, the second one is Berlin, the third one is possibly Dublin. So if you are thinking about this to get money from the VCs like London, please be aware that it can only be done currently when you have a legal entity established based on the UK law. So which means that as well could make you in one thing this operational experience, operational in the country, as well as passporting much easier, and you will not have to necessarily prove because you will have this entity entity anyway. Yeah. And I can tell you this from experience. We've been speaking with more than 8 VCs currently in Dublin and London, and all of them are saying this very clearly. Yeah, I know where Poland is. They are looking for us like I think we'll be looking for the people from Kazakhstan. Although I have nothing against Kazakhstan because it's quite a rich country and very booming right now, but this is the experience really from the speeches and pitches we've done in London for the last few months.
I think it may be a question of mandate. Whatever they have written in the statute of the funds, they may be forced to only invest in companies which are UK or Ireland based.
Yeah, it could be the case, but I think it's mainly for the safety of the VC. Yeah, they know that the UK, they are present in the UK, so this is easy. You are as a startup who wants the money, so if you want the money, please prove that, first of all, you have a UK-based entity, which is not a big deal. Creation of the UK-based entity is much easier than in Poland. The second one, you should think about the customers in the UK to have them before you request a money from the UK VC.
And there's a big tax advantage.
Yeah. And on top of it, that's, they basically know their regulatory environment and they feel comfortable, and this decreases the cost of, well, the transactional cost in a sense of learning the foreign set of rules, which could be best in the world, but they are unknown. Simple as it.
Okay, that's a very good point. Thank you very much for that. Can I just thank the panel? Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the experts who've given us some other advice. Thank you.